this is a weird week for quarterbacks because we have two teams that are playing on Thursday in the Commanders and the Vikings that have great matchups going. They're at home. Commanders are at home against the Cowboys. The Vikings are at home against the Lions. Those are the two secondaries and the two pass defenses that at this point of the year you are most interested in attacking. And so you would say, all right, JJ McCarthy, we're in, right? Marcus Mariota, we're in. Both of them leave this past week with hand injuries. We don't know the status of either of them. I know that McCarthy did not have a broken bone in his hand, but he's getting an MRI. We don't really know that much about Mariota, who also, I believe, has a quad injury. He didn't practice on Monday. We do know that as of recording. And so it's really tough because I'm not going to start Matt Crosmer and I'm not going to start Josh Johnson. Like, I'm not going to dig that deep. But if one of these guys were to play, especially I think McCarthy were to play, then I'd be really, really interested in them as a streaming option. So it's a really tough situation.
Yeah. It was looking like if you were somebody that streamed quarterback all year, that the last week would be pretty easy. You kind of just have your pick of the litter. And then, it feels like the Detroit Lions referee situation, just, all these great matchups. However, we lose 8 quarterbacks in 1 week, basically. And now it's like, you have to be looking for, do I start, it's a bunch of third stringers, right? Like, exactly. Is Josh Johnson going to find your lineup? Probably not, but
Tyler
Huntley. I like, I would like McCarthy. He did have a hand wrapped up after when they were doing the post game stuff, but then he was clapping with the broken hand. So I agree with you. It's probably not broken, but
they said they had an X-ray and it wasn't broken, but they're running further tests. So what does that mean? Like, it's really, it's still very, as the time we're recording this, and again, we record this on Monday, it's pretty nebulous what's going on there.
Yeah. I think they would want to play him, right? Like, it's kind of a disaster if he doesn't play. Like all the Vikings have to do right now for the next 2 games is see if, there's something in JJ McCarthy. And I think it would be a pretty bad look for the organization if he ended up getting pulled for these last 2 games to play Brosmer. So I think that he will probably play. The issue is that if he's, not totally ready and this hand is lingering at all, I think it could really affect him. He's already been in the media a lot recently. Like, people have been talking about his mechanics being subpar and he's got to just play by feel. And it just feels like a recipe for disaster, despite a good matchup if he is nursing an injury. But it could just end up being a bruise, and I think you're right. It would probably be the best matchup. Mariota's a little bit of a better mix, I think, between safety and a good matchup. He's had 3 QB1 performances, and they can actually move the ball a bit, right? Mariota he's a competent backup. We've seen him this year have a lot of really good drives, hit some good throws. And so if he's able to play, I think against the Cowboys, a division rivalry, when they're already out, it is the Cowboys, right? Yeah. That could be a pretty good matchup. I could see him having 3 touchdowns, and so that's probably where I would lean. Mix of safety and high ceiling.
My concern with Mariota is that a lot of what he's been doing as a fantasy player is reliant on rushing. And the 2 starts before this past week, he had 10 carries in each of those. In fact, I was high on his rushing total this week. I took the over on his prop. Even before the injury, he wasn't going to hit it. Now he's hurt. Is he going to run as much? Like, that's a big concern here. He does obviously, though, have the weapons. JJ McCarthy obviously has weapons as well. And Justin Jefferson, if he ever completes fast to them. And Jordan Addison. But, like, Mariota does have weapons as well, and a healthy Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel, and so, like, he's in a good spot there as well. But I just worry a lot more, I think, of Mariota's fantasy value is tied up in running, and if he has that hand injury, are we going to get as much running? That would be my concern with that. But they're honestly really in a very similar spot. The one thing I would say is that I'm going to like the potential game environment in Cowboys Commanders a lot better than I am in Lions Vikings, because the Lions can certainly push it and score a lot of points. We saw that not work out this past week. The Vikings defense is very, very good. In fact, the total in that game is 44.5, which isn't terrible, but it's certainly not elite. The total in that Cowboys and Commanders game, I believe, is 50.5. So it's a lot better game environment for Mariota.
Yeah.
So maybe that leans you towards using him. The guy that I would use over both of these guys, especially with the injury concerns, is Tyler Shough. I am all in on Tyler Shough going up against the Titans. The Titans did shut down the Chiefs, right? But like, as we kind of talked about, the Chiefs looked like they were on the beach. Like they're done. The Chiefs really were done in that situation. Lost their backup quarterback, who's now on IR, although he didn't tear his ACL, but he is on IR. So hope you get well soon, Gardner Minshew. But like, I'm not taking a lot out of that. Prior to that, the Titans were getting absolutely shredded. Shough is the quarterback 8 over the last 3 weeks. He's 3rd in rushing yards over that span with 2 rushing scores. I will say, the Taysom Hill thing, we'll talk about Taysom Hill here in a bit when we get to the tight ends. The Taysom Hill thing does raise concerns. Definitely his lowest rushing production of this run was this past week. And if Taysom Hill's heavily involved, we get less Shough running, especially near the end zone. Like that could be a concern. But like more importantly than that, because the Saints did not have a running back they trusted, which is why we saw Taysom Hill out there, we saw the Saints be 13% over expected pass rate. They threw the ball a ton, even in a game they were controlling, because they didn't have a running back they trusted. If Kamara comes back, that'll probably change, right? But as long as Kamara stays out, I think we're going to get a lot of dropbacks here for Shough against this Titans defense, and I feel really, really good about him. And so if I'm picking guys, even if McCarthy and Mariota were like healthy, I still think I would have Shough ranked above them. And then Shough, we don't have those concerns with the injury. So he is, I think, number 1 with the bullet of the streaming options this week.
Yeah, he looks awesome. I think there's not really too much that needs to be said. Like he is, I think, more mobile than anybody really realized. They're running a lot of plays. He's passing well. I think the team as a whole looks pretty good. The vibes are good. It just seems like all they have really to play for is to, end the season strong. They could move ahead of the Falcons in the division. They could even they have 5 wins now. Bucks have 7. So I feel like this could really turn into them kind of establish themselves in the way like the Lions 3 years ago, when they went on that hot streak at the end of the year. Like I think that stuff matters a lot. So I think they're going to keep pushing it. Kellen Moore likes to run a lot of plays. And they need to see what they have. Everybody kind of roasted them preseason for spending a 2nd-round pick on a geriatric rookie quarterback, 26-year-old Tyler Shough. But
I made the jokes. I'm not going to say I didn't.
Yeah, no, I think this is what you get. Like this is the flip side, that they come into the league a lot more prepared, a lot more ready to go. And so it's not like they're going to be tanking for a pick, right? I think they're going to stick with Shough until next year, at the very least. And so, yeah, I think it's a great streamer this week.